Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for today, that is 3rd of March 2022. Today's feature news is on a very relevant topic, hotly debated in the society and yet inconclusive. The topic is on specifically on women's rights, that is related to marital rape and conjugal rights. Should it be criminalized or not? And you people have answered this question very well in the previous discussion, in the previous video. I really appreciate the kind of answers you have put and the kind of data, the kind of statistics that you have put. Special acknowledgement to Hima. Kindly look at the answers that she has put here. You must try to look at the objectivity of the answer and the kind of words that have been used to place the perspective. Very, very important. However, we will cover this article in totality right now. And before that, let me welcome all of you. Hi Amlan, Hima, Netra, Kriti, Vakram, Ashish, Tiyasha, Bhavani, and Kanupriya, welcome. Lost Soul, welcome back. Pooja, all of you, welcome. Let's start this conversation. Hasn't it been a highly debated conversation these days? Court cases lodged against the present level of issues around marital rape. The stand of the parliament saying that there have to be different ways in which marital rape has to be dealt. It cannot be criminalized. On the other hand, people's group and right group, NGOs, they all stand up for the rights of women. On the other hand, there is a societal setup which also needs to be understood because it is a complex setup. So let us understand the various perspectives and what should be the way forward. There's also a role of police here, right, and institutions and the formation of law. Let us understand each of this. Right from the modern times, especially the year of 2012, there was a major protest regarding criminalization of those heinous crimes which were against women, and that was on rape, specifically on rape. This happened after the Nirbhaya case of 2012, after which there were stringent punishments which were awarded for the guilty. Having said that, the J.S. Verma committee also said that marital rape must be criminalized. Marital rape must be criminalized. Can you imagine that the law as of now states that if an individual is single, if a female is single, unmarried right now, and if somebody commits rape on her, this is a criminal offense and it invites penalty up to the level of death punishment. On the other hand, the moment she gets married, say even 5 minutes later to it, and if a specific individual commits this crime of rape on her, if it is her husband, this is not a criminal offense. How is it possible that just in a matter of moment, this offense converted to something that was not an offense? This is to be understood so that we understand what is the stand of the government, what is the stand of the parliament. They both are at the similar level, and it is not just about this particular government. This issue has been pending from the previous governments as well. So not only this political party, but many other political parties have taken the same stand. Let us understand this issue in totality. The first issue is that how it reflects prima facie. What happens? So let us understand through this sheet. See, the point of presenting this sheet was also very important. On one page only, I am able to present all the varied perspectives. So I have presented a context. This is not for you. This is for myself. But what you can learn is to present the whole feature news in one page and also leave some page aside so that you can put in some other data, facts, important things that keep on coming later. So one part of it, I have put the context. Then I have put about some laws that have been passed or are related to it. The third part is the issues. The fourth part is how to deal with an issue like this. The fifth part is what is the stand of the government and the institutions, for example, the parliament, and what is the need for it? What is the need for criminalizing this issue? So 7-8 issues presented in the same page. Now I will be presenting from this particular this particular page itself. But what I want you to do is have your own sheet made in this particular manner, right? So this is an important illustration for you. Now, as I mentioned, bodily autonomy is prime, whether it is a male or it is a female. One person has autonomy over their body, and this must be provided equally for everybody. So Hima has rightly mentioned this point Article 14, Article 19, Article 21. It has been fought over and over again that bodily autonomy and personal integrity, this is prime for every individual. It must be given. And right now, when we look at the crime of or the alleged crime of marital rape, this is against the females and pro males. Why? Because these kind of bodily autonomy are not available to female. Right. So Article 21, right to life and personal liberty, the freedom to not participate in any conduct, for example, sexual conduct, she must have. But right now that is not being offered. The equality of treatment at par with males is not being offered. This is one of the prime arguments that we are going against the Constitution itself. This is one of the arguments. The second one that I mentioned very clearly, 5 minutes before the marriage, it was a crime, and 5 minutes after it, it was not a crime. How is this possible when the act was same? Is it legally justified? The third thing that you must mention or look at is the reality that, even if we look at, so let us understand what is the perspective of the people who say that this should not be looked as a crime. They say that India works with the institution of family integrity, and family union is of prime importance. Our customs are more important. Please keep listening. Don't get agitated with this. The parliament has said this. The ministers have also said this. Family must be preserved. And to preserve family, the institution of marriage, right? Here we must not treat marital rape as crime. This is what is their perspective. Now, I have a question here. And why family? Why family? Because family is a very sacrosanct institution. Marriage is a very sacrosanct institution. Now the counter argument to this is, if marriage is a sacrosanct institution, should woman be forced for some acts which she does not want to participate in, or should she be forced at all if it is a sacrosanct marriage? If it is a pure marriage, no, she should not be. So this also must be looked at as an argument that women should have their own autonomy or right to choice. Right to choose what they want to choose, right? If family was sacrosanct, then family should be considering these rights as prime for women as well, right? So this is one important thing that should be considered. Not only that, when we look at the institution of society, the institution of religion, the institution of a greater, family good, if this is to be looked at, this is what the the argument presented by many people, that this is for the preservation of India's culture and society and morality and goodness. So should women be treated differently in the personal space, and in open we would say that we are treating them at par in society, and we should try to hide a crime like marital rape? Should it be so? So this is misconceived notion that it is being said like that. If at all people are saying this, it is a half-baked opinion. On the other hand, let me tell you deeply about it. Let us get into this issue. Now, once we criminalize an issue like marital rape, I'm not convinced by the argument, but please keep listening to it. Once we criminalize the institution of marital rape, this will be lodged as a complaint with the police. And once it is lodged as a complaint with the police will start its investigation. Now, at this moment, many persons are themselves not in a state to reveal their identity about issues, even to the police, even when it is anonymous, right? Even if we have gone through sexual harassment or assault or even eve tease, we fear sharing it with parents. What happens in case there is an issue of marital rape? We will have to go to the police, and police will start its investigation. We will be bringing police to our homes, our bedrooms, and those kind of investigations are not something that have happened very much in our country. India is still new to this kind of culture. This is happening in the Western culture, where it is open and people are talking about it. But as Indians, it is something that is not as prevalent in India. So the argument provided is, one of the argument that we will be letting police in. Already police has covered various levels, or the state per se, the state which has got the institution of placing CCTV cameras at public places, the state which has got the institution of regulating what we watch on internet, the state which is also regulating what we should be eating. Now the state will also be regulating what is our act at home. No, this is not an argument to say that state should not give us justice. At no level it is being said that a crime, a matter of crime, should go scot-free in the eyes of law. But will this give way to bureaucracy? Will it give way to delays? Will it give way to some kind of leeways to people who have got finances or power? Yes, all the laws have been misutilized, and so will this be. Not saying that law should not be there on marital rape, but this is one of the arguments that has been provided, that is Indian culture right now in the right place to initiate this. This is one of the arguments that has been provided. Then what is the proof? How to prove what is the level of perpetrator's indulgence which will result into marital rape? How to prove it? Should we have just the verbal discourse? It is not something that may stand. I don't know how the intricacies of law will work, but this will become far more complex, right? So these are a couple of prime important things. And yes, there's another thing being placed, that is that misuse of law. See, misuse of law has always happened with every law, whether it be law of motor vehicle, whether it be law related to anything that is a civil law or a criminal law. It has been always misutilized, and so will this be. So this argument doesn't stand ground. But how to handle the proofs in such cases? What about the institution of our Indian culture, which might not be able to withstand this kind of straightforward accusals within the family, right? So these are some important concerns that have been raised. On the other hand, the counter argument to these statements have been mentioned by saying that bodily integrity and autonomy of individual cannot be violated in any regard. This is about preservation of integrity of humans, and more so women. This is not only about women right, this is about human right. Just like in the case of Ukraine, people say that it is a human right to speak against perpetrator in these cases of violations. Similarly, any human would raise a voice when an issue like this is cropped up, right? Issue of marital rape. Data itself says, you people have yourself provided, 90% of the crimes which are committed, especially the heinous crimes here, we are talking of rape and related incidences, they are committed by the people who are known to the victim, known. They could be confidants, they could be trustworthy persons, they could be family relatives. And it is not far to extrapolate that those people also could be involved in the crimes such as marital rape. Trustworthy people. And imagine our Indian family setup. This is look at the perspective, a beautiful perspective given by the people, right activists. They say that our traditional setup, if you speak of the traditional setup, our traditional setup is such that when the child is born, especially a female child is born at her parents, this is the father or the family, they treat her as a liability. Traditional setup, let us not generalize it. Traditional setup, do not look at yourself when we talk of it. We are all blessed children of God. So they are treated as a liability, and then they are sent off to the marriage home, where we have our husband, right? Now our first home did not own us well, and dowry was also paid. You saw that in the report, no? Gender roles report, where 90% of the people, whether males or females, they all agree that that female must obey the order of males. Now this is the mindset which did drive the child, the female child at those times. And once she is married, if this is the place where she is getting maltreatment, right? For example, domestic violence, more than two-thirds of the females have said that they have faced domestic violence at some point or the other. When they face this, who is at the resort? I mean, who will be able to help those individuals who are in need of justice? It cannot be the parental home. They have already left them. It cannot be the person who is, or the family which has perpetrated. It is the law. It is the constitution which has the recourse. So constitution more so must have these kind of entities which preserve the sacred space of an individual, right? And not only that, social customs. If we speak of social customs, which I just mentioned, that social custom family will not be able to tolerate these kind of police interventions at home. The culture is not so it is not so open in India. The counter argument again is placed by saying, and note this word, this sentence is really important. It says very much, social custom is not a license to commit crime. Rape is a rape, whether it was committed before marriage or after marriage, right? So social custom is not a license to commit a crime, right? This is a very important argument given. This is about human individuality, autonomy, and not only that, if you look at this data and statistics, more than 150 countries, not 100, and Mahima, please take a note, more than 150 countries have criminalized marital rape as an offense. And India is amongst only 30 plus odd countries which has not criminalized marital rape as an offense. And did we create this law? No. This was the law created during the primitive times under IPC. We do not have a separate law for marital rape, but for rape. But then IPC 375, IPC Indian Penal Code 375, Section 375 speaks of what rape is and how the perpetrator of the crime must be treated. So it clearly mentions that the person, that a woman, if she is not giving consents to sex, if it is non-consensual, if it is unwanted and it is sexual intercourse, it could be considered as rape. But marriage has been given an exception here. A person who is married to her, for that person, this has been given an exception. Now, this was not our custom. This is something that was a customary law that has come down from archaic times, Britishers, right? And they themselves have repealed this law. So has South Africa, so has Australia, so has Canada, so has more than 150 countries. But India has not repealed this law, talking in the name of culture, right? So have the other countries dealt with this law? Well, yes, they are dealing with it. And if there are shortcomings and lacune in the law, they are dealing with it as well, right? There are shortcomings in all the laws. So will this have, but at least this will provide a recourse to women to be able to speak out their grievance. This is a very important way forward, and especially when you look at the laws for females in India, right? We have discussed about female rights, no? Right to property. You saw how if the female is born without a child and the husband is also deceased, the property goes to male heirs, right? The heirs of her husband, their family. Not only that, if you look at conjugal rights, there is something called as conjugal rights. What is that? When male and female, they marry, they tie the knot, they are together. And conjugal right means that the male or the female, they can force the law, they can enforce the law and say that during tough times in the marriage, even when they are estranged in the relationship, they are not liking each other, they can force each other to stay with each other. And this provision of the law, this is a part of the Hindu Marriage Act, Divorce Act, and the Special Marriage Act. This special provision of conjugal rights, it very clearly says that they will have to stay together. It can be enforced by the court of law. This also has been challenged right now. This is not law created by us, again, old times. So a part of Indian Hindu Marriage Act. So we created this, but then this is very retrograde in nature, because ideally what it does is that it holds the right. A female would not force, usually in our society, this is the reality, a female would not force the man to stay with her. It is the opposite. It is the opposite, where the female and husband, they are not happy with each other, but the male wants the female to stay with her, also imposing himself on her, and in the process also avoiding divorce, avoiding alimony, avoiding paying maintenance to her. So this is how conjugal rights are enforced. This has also been challenged in the court, just like we have the marital rape being challenged in the court. Look at another law. This law is on extramarital affairs, right? So commonly called as extramarital affairs. It is a part of adultery in section 497 of IPC. IPC 497. It has lately been, this section has lately been scrapped. What it mentioned just a year back, and what it just a couple of years back, and what it clearly mentioned was that woman, see, adultery means indulging in sexual affairs with somebody other than our marriage partner, right? So suppose this is a man and this is a man and this is a female. If these people are married, if these two people are married, and if there is an extramarital relationship between an outsider and this wife, the wife of this man, the outsider will be penalized. Why? Because they have committed an adultery. The female will not be penalized. You know why? Because female has been considered as a property of this man. It straight away means, and this is not the modern law. This adultery law is again part of IPC, old times, created under the British, and this is not even a part of their law right now. They also gave up this kind of law, and India only gave it up right now. All I am saying is that there is a linkage. When you see the conjugal rights, when you see the adultery section, When you see the specific issue of marital rape, they're all linked, where female is treated as the property of husband, where she is treated as the person who has given perennial rights of for being treated according to husband's needs, right? So where she is obligated to perform duties, to procreate, to behave as per husband's desire. All these laws are of the similar kind, and slowly and steadily they are being pointed out. That is the point. Are we progressive enough? We will have to look, because certain laws have been cut short and cut down by the court itself. Other laws have also been challenged, right? And there's another question. When you say that the institution of marriage is sacrament, is very, very sacred in India, are these marriages not sacred in other countries? Is it only sacred in India? They are sacred in other countries also, but they look for the human rights, they look for women rights. And even if when they are sacred in India, another moral question is it sacred only for the woman? It must be sacred for the man as well, and they must act in that specific way, right? So that the other partner is respected enough. So see, there are many logical points which favor that there must be a law on this, right? But what are the nuances? What are the criticalities? They are to be looked at. And that is why when I asked the question, I asked you both the sides of the story. And not only it is very clearly evident that this is partial against women. A lot of points with you against this kind of crime. But what about the complexity of the issue? You will also have to look at the complexity of this issue. So this should not be misjudged from one perspective, that the other person is a male chauvinistic person. It is possible. I don't know how the other person would be looking at, but I want you to look at all the perspectives, also look at the issues which need to be sorted out in the process, right? For example, when any crime has to be, any issue has to be criminalized, there has to be adequate safeguard to be placed in case it is misutilized. So safeguard must be placed. This is very important. Not only that, one must note that this is not happening across all the sections of society. So adequate research must happen, and accordingly we must understand what is the section of society which has to be dealt. For example, many people, when they come to NGOs to seek help, they say my husband was drunk and that's when they committed this. Even when conscious, people want to dominate over the other person. So this is how the law must be framed, so that they target that specific group, right? For example, a simple example of targeting a specific group is the Motor Vehicle Act. The penalty for not wearing a helmet is different from penalty for not wearing a seat belt or driving over speed in two-wheeler and four-wheeler. The crimes are different because the paying capacity of both the people could be different. This is one of the rationale that has been considered. This must be considered here as well, right? Not only that, women will these are the times when there is social media presence. Women themselves have come up for their rights. They have started to speak, and this is a great change. This has come with social awareness. This has come with encouragement. This has come with understanding the rights of the people. Rights of the people are prime, and that must be encouraged amongst people. Only when it is done, people will be more aware, and they will be able to speak for themselves and for the people who have been victimized through a crime like this. So preserving rights through sharing of the ordeals, sharing of issues that people have faced, that becomes important, right? So awareness, training, all this is important, right? So this is very important, right? Okay, let me look at something that you people have placed here. Ashish says, sir, doesn't in rape cases the burden of evidence lies with the accused? Yes. In crimes like rape or heinous crimes, the burden of the evidence lies with the accused, and this is the prime reason these offenses are taken by state. These are offenses in which there is no bail available. So the level of if at all there has been an injustice done, or if it was a false reporting, this goes way too long, way too stretched for the person who has been accused, right? So therefore, it must be treated with sensitivity. There must be adequate number of safeguards placed. Having said that, even if it is a marital rape, how will the accused be able to prove that it was not marital rape, that it was not even consensual sex? How are we able to say that it was consent driven or not? There are cases, only minority of cases, but police itself has said that there are cases in which They were consensus earlier given, but then because there were certain demands not met, it was called as a marital rape, right? Let me give you some examples. All right, this is similar but not exactly this. When we talk of sexual workers, oh yes, sexual workers also have got rights. When they have got rights, when they can seek, what they want and independence, why cannot married women? This is an important right. Now, I was reading this in newspapers a few years back. There is a now please understand in the wider context whatever I am sharing. This is just for awareness. What out of newspaper reports, not that everything is true, but just a perspective could be widely used if you feel so. So there are people, there are cases of alleged crimes, for example rape, and then when a crime is alleged, people can go to police station, and accordingly the perpetrator of the crime or the person who is the accused is the right word, they would be put behind the bars. Now when there is investigation happening, it is found later that this act between these two people was two individuals indulging into this act and then possibly monetizing this, right? So sexual workers, sex workers, and when the amount was not paid according to, it was just like ransom. They asked for more finances, more money, and then when it was not paid, they called it a rape charge. So this is also a perspective to it, right? One perspective. I'm not saying this is the only perspective. There could be, rape allegations also. There are various ways in which, and nowadays the whole thing has been institutionalized even under the law, even not directly under the law, but under the protection of the institutions. Not to make it very evident to you and very clear, there are cuts and there are proportions of finances given to everybody, all people in the institutions. But then this is the business. This is the business. Now we are getting diverted. Let's get back to the issue of marital rape. So when you look at the kind of laws that we have, adultery 497, which has now been removed, right? IPC, section 375, which is of the crime that is rape, and a section of this, a part of this exempts, or it removes the section for husband, it decriminalizes this act for a husband. This is what we were speaking at. And when we look at both the sides, women, what are their rights, their personal rights, individual rights, right? What about the crime? The crime itself has its nature, which has been perpetrated. So at the level of morality, this is institution. What about the level of we call it sacrosanct, no? What about the level of sacrosanct treatment by the male members? This is again question. If we say that Indian society treats marriage as sacrosanct, what about the Western society? Do they not? They do also. So you should be able to give 7, 8 or 10 very, very logical points which are able to prove that this stands ground. Male activists, women activists, when they speak about this, they are firm on their ground and non-emotive at all, right? Rational grounds, because they understand that being rational is the way forward, right? So, and also look at the family system. The traditional family system is such that it does not support women empowerment. It supports the male patrilineal society. You just saw that patriarchal society. So you saw, you can give reference to the Pew report, Pew Research Center report itself again here. So when that is so, law should be the resort for women, right? Also looking at all the other acts, for example, adultery, domestic violence act, looking at other cases, for example, conjugal rights, it all clearly indicates that this particular section of IPC also relates to those kind of crimes. So there must be proper and thorough investigation on that, right? Now, there are some legalities. As I mentioned, one of the legalities was how to prove the crime, or how to prove that it was not committed. How should we show that consensus was there or not there? Should we have in place a recorder, a phone recorder? How it is very tough to prove a thing like this. Second is the institution of police reaching at our homes and the kind of culture that we are at. At present levels, we feel it is a blot in on the family, right? At present levels, we feel that it is like a stigma to our home, to our family. What will happen if this comes to light, right? Along with that, there is another legality, that is that if the court strikes down this particular part, I think section of 375 or 376, a part of it, where it makes marriage an exception to rape. If the court decriminalizes this part, right, or remove this part, it makes it a criminal offense, the court will indirectly be calling it an offense for husbands, right? And this is what court cannot do. This is a contention which has been said, legality provision. It says that it is only the institution of parliament or the state legislature which can make a law, who to be penalized, who not to be penalized, and the court cannot do this. So the center must frame a law, or the parliament must look at framing a law. So this is one legality here, right? I hope you have understood this point. Now this is a matter of human right, place it in the positives, right? And this is not a matter of female right. Also, a question is, should the law be made gender neutral? Yes, make it gender neutral, not a problem, right? We do not know who is the perpetrator of the crime. Any of the persons who has offended, they must be they must face the court of law, they must face prosecution. But then proving this kind of guilt, that is another issue, or defending oneself in this issue is another issue, right? And so what is the way out the government says right now? Right now the government says the way out is very simple. If you are facing marital rape issues, if you are facing any other issues in the family, it is not that you must not bring it to light, but we do not want to criminalize this. What we want you to do is to get out of a relationship like this. If it is toxic to you, if you do not like it, if it is really disastrous to you, get out of it. And there are provisions which are favorable to women right now. But because if we criminalize this, there will be legality, there will be proceedings, and there will be bureaucracy. There will be, it will be very tough to prove it as it was committed, right? The way it was committed. So therefore, the ministers or the parliament right now is saying that you have got different ways to come out of a marriage like this. You can utilize that. This is what has been said. The counter argument again presented, they said, so what that it is tough for you to, find provisions, at least criminalize it first, at least regard it as something that is inhumane. This is the first step towards making this issue more highlighting and making, raising awareness amongst people. Is it not logical? Yes, it is absolutely logical. Does it have complexities? Yes, it has complexities. Should it be recognized as criminal? See, logic says it must be recognized. On the other hand, the culture says that, what happens in case increased number of such cases are present? What happens to the people who are facing this, right? So even if suppose if it happens in a neighborhood and people do not want this to happen, right? Just consider this. If a husband has been accused and the case has been going on between husband and wife, and this is a police case, and people have also known, somehow they have known in the society, what happens to the whole family setup? Husband's family setup and wife's family setup. Today's India's culture is such that the families are, they're looked down upon. There is a stigma attached to them. There is a stigma attached to women as well, right? There will be stigma attached to the male as well, notwithstanding whether it was alleged or whether it was real or not. I'm not at all defending the present level. All I am saying is that this is a perspective of the culture which the government also says. Not only this government, the past governments have also acknowledged. They say that if you are facing this problem, utilize ways and means to get out of a marriage like this. If you are facing this, and law also presently favors it, get separated, go away. Conjugal rights also has been questioned in the court of law. So you will have adequate provision. This is what has been said, right? So this is another point. Then another point that has been said is that when you say that the Western world provides these kind of freedom, their culture is different. So the counter argument says that Western world has provided freedom, but it has also provided absolute freedom for everything. For example, in America, one can also burn the national flag. They can also burn the national flag. So if that is the kind of freedom provided, India does not provide these kind of freedom. There are reasonable restrictions, and this should be one of the reasonable restrictions also placed on marriage, right? There should be some reasonable restrictions placed on the marriage, right? So yes, no problem, right? So can we decriminalize it? That is the question. The prime question comes to, can we decriminalize it? Then what is your answer on this? Present. Don't say yes or no straight away. Don't say yes or no. Present your points. Logical points, one side, present the issues, and you say at the end that yes, There must be a law made with sensitivity, with sensitivity towards women, considering that there could be misutilization of the law. It derives from a lot of complexities in Indian culture and setup. There must be ways in which it must be designed so that privacy is also, considered, person's autonomy is considered, fundamental rights are seen, right? So what that the matter is complex. We cannot put it on the carpet, right? We cannot. So this is how you should take a stand in an issue like this. Complex, but yet fairly simple. If we look at the fundamentals, foundations, fairly simple. Building awareness amongst women, right? Giving them autonomy, right? Making them well aware and well trained. This is what is primarily required. So we can't ignore a crime if it is difficult to establish a system. We can't ignore the crime. Acknowledgement of the crime is the prime thing that we must look at, right? But these kind of arguments should not be placed in the introduction. This should be placed in the body or towards the conclusion, where your wider wisdom is required. So one is this, that the crime cannot be overlooked if it is this difficult to establish a system to penalize it. The second one is where there is a right, there must be a remedy. If the female or individual has been given a right to autonomy, right to freedom, right to integrity, bodily integrity, right to privacy, right to freedom and individual liberty, all these rights, then there must be a provision of remedy. Right now there is no provision of remedy. All you're saying is skip this, right? Go away, get divorced. So those are not the solutions. This is only hiding. This is like ostrich hiding away, or Nelson's eye, not looking at the problem. What should be is to raise awareness, to criminalize this issue, and also have legal provisions along with safeguards. Please remember, safeguards are important. Any law can be misutilized, or there can be issues. As Ashish rightly mentioned, in these kind of issues, the criminal is straight away put behind the bars, and only after that anything is heard. Police wouldn't listen to anybody, and this is why there must be adequate safeguards also. How it has to be further met, that must be seen. I have presented both the sides of the story, and I am now going to look at the kind of questions that you people are posing. All right. All right. What do you say here? Hi, Pooja. Prince Rajput, welcome. Ashish, patriarchy. Okay. Amlan says developed countries have more divorce. Yes, they do. See, if it's the part of their culture, so be it. But on the other hand, they provide autonomy to the individual. They abide by what is written in the constitution more than we do. Is it not true? Babani says Article 375 is a beautiful movie there is regarding this. Yes, there's a movie by in which Akshay Khanna is one of the lawyers. It's a movie I've heard worth watching. One could watch. Okay. Amnan says criminal justice behind closed doors is best example of post-marital crime. Okay. Okay. Kanupriya says on the name of misuse of the law, people are not accepting the marital law, when in reality it happens with every second criminal offense, the most often used excuse. Yes, absolutely. Kanupriya has the right point put here, that instead of acknowledging that this was a crime committed, just because there are complexities involved, we are looking for a different way out, and we are not even acknowledging the presence of it. What is it doing? This is a systemic level of subjugation of one complete section of society. And what is that section of society? This is 50% of our society. Can you imagine this? When I looked at the Pew report, I had known about it a few months back. 90% of people saying that women must obey men, and I had flagged it right then. This is not done, but that is the state of our culture in India, right? So you must be sensitive about the culture, because right now we will be writing answers, but tomorrow when you face the Indian society, the social setup itself will say, the family setup itself will say that isko rafa dafa karte hai. Let's do away with this. Let us not create a ruckus out of it. No police cases. Why? Because the penal system is also such, right? It is bureaucratic, it is delay oriented. So the court also, the government also says that justice will get delayed. In a few years, 5 years, 10 years, the criminal sentence will be given. Meanwhile, you will be suffering all this. So seek another way out. This has been said by this has been defended by the parliamentarians. I'm not saying this. All right. Okay. What is the next point? Hima says, most ironic thing, an example how desensitized our society is about marital rape is many times panchayat and families pressure rape victims to marry their rapist. Yes, yes, absolutely, very well mentioned. On the other hand, as I had mentioned, what kind of offenses are these? These are offenses against the state. These are offenses where we cannot compromise with the accused. We cannot. But look at what is happening in reality. Absolutely true, well mentioned. Lost Soul says, very rightly said Hima, I was also thinking about this. Yes. Ashish says, sir, as in burqa issue, okay, we discussed that the right should be demanded by the stakeholders rather than imposing it to maintain social fabric. Won't same count here? Okay, let me read again. Sir, as in burqa issue, hijab, I think you meant hijab ban. We discussed that the right should be demanded by the stakeholders, okay, rather than imposing it to maintain social fabric. Amlan agrees, okay, and if the same is counted, it would be tough to bring about this change which is required because society is very rigid. Yes. What is society? Our parliament itself. Parliament is not ready right now. There are sections of society. What happened? It has happened multiple times that social groups, NGOs, activists, they have been called. They said, prepare a report on all this, right? Not only, see, as you mentioned, National Crime Record Bureau itself has mentioned. United Nations Population Fund has mentioned. In India, more than 75% of the cases that were studied, in that marital rape was one thing that came up as an important issue. Right, as I mentioned, 85 to 90% of the crimes, the sexual crimes reported, they are done by the perpetrators who are known to the people, trustworthy people. What more proof is required? Even despite when people come up with these kind of reports, United Nations, National Crime Records Bureau, various social workers, NGOs, they come and they meet the parliamentarians, they consider this, and after that, and they say that this is not required in the country. And more so, please acknowledge this. This is the male-dominated parliamentarians which are speaking, no, right? 9/10 of the parliament, we have got 30 odd, members of 30, 40 members of parliament who are females, and 80-90% of the parliamentarians, right? They are males, and they are the ones who are speaking on female rights. So, what the irony? What a depth of irony here. So, this is the point that has been presented here. Let us look at the featured news here. All right. So, okay. 375 of the Penal Code, right? And it gives an exception to the people who are married, right? The married partners. So when you look at this law, please start looking at this law not in isolation, but with relation to conjugal rights, right? Because people who are in strained marriage, they also go through this because it was forced on them, right? Start looking at it from the perspective of the right that was from adultery, the case of adultery, which was abolished, section 497, right? Start looking at it from the perspective of the rights, the rights to ownership, right? So rights to ownership in the traditional setup. Start looking at it from the perspective of rights over land, real estate, right? Are they given to women or not? Start looking at it from the perspective of the familial setup in which people are born, right? So dowry, and then giving them less rights and getting them married. So this is a systemic way in which change is required, right? It's a part of that. This is not in isolation that we are speaking of. What is marital rape? You understand well, right? So without her assent or by compel or danger, right, she goes through a situation where she did not give consent, and then so this is what is marital rape. It has not been criminalized in India. This is the contention. National Family Health Survey says 30% Indian women aged 18 to 49 reported having experienced spousal violence. And you must know one thing, that most of the crimes these are committed, these are with young women, right? Less than 29. This is one of the important data that has mentioned. In fact, there is also a specific age group of 14 to 19 years of age, right? This 14 to 18 years of age, this is particular age group in which this crime has been committed, marital rape. Marital rape. And in this category, there's a category of 15 to 18. In this category, the females have been overlooked. Why? Because less than 15 years of age, if somebody imposed them, even if marriage partner imposed them on the female partner, this would become a crime. Greater than 18 years of age is a separate issue. This is what has been covered in many laws. But in 15 to 18 age gap, the women have not at all been covered. And many of the marriages happening in India are in the age group of 15 to 18. So there is not at all a coverage of this age group, which is of prime importance, right? So law also provides some or the other lacunae here. And look, the kind of survey that has happened here, this has happened on 7 lakh women. This cannot be treated as a small, the scalability of survey is not small. This is, the sample size is quite big here. What is the provision of exception of marital rape in place? Why is it here? Because it is considered that she has given consent in perpetuity, hamesha ke liye. I am yours. I am, this is what has been a part of the British legacy that we have received. An expectation of sex by the male counterparts. What is the need for criminalization? Oh, far more than required. Article 14, 19, 21. Misuse of criminalization is not valid, right? Because if there is no law, it does not mean it is non-criminal. It is an offense. Unable to complain to anybody, the social setup is such, they must seek refuge with the law, protection of marriage and family. This is one of the recusals which have been given, right? One of the excuses, protection of families and marriage. Is it not that we don't have marriages and family in Western world? We do. But then they are important for individual rights as well, right? In a marriage is also an institution of respect. What are conjugal rights? So conjugal rights are, if people are married, male and female, there are some rights over each other. And largely, you know how it goes. It is male dominated by male dominating society, and this is how males dominate females. So when they are separated, living at other places, they can force by law that the partner lives with them. I mentioned what is the background to it. So to avoid alimony, to avoid other issues, they ensure that they live with each other. And right now, with marital rape not an offense, the provision of restitution of conjugal rights when aimed at women takes away her bodily autonomy. See, so this is absolutely, or also conjugal rights has been challenged right now. All right, degree of evidence to prove non-consent. Ashish, pay attention. This is tough. This is tough right now. Right now, to understand what is the impact, how long, or how it has to be, handled. This is something that has to be looked at, right? So preserving the family institution. See, family institution already gets violated if you are violating female rights. Is it not true? In multiple ways also, female is the one who is the center of the family, and she is the one who grooms the family together, right? It is said that husband, I'm forgetting that beautiful quote. The husband does it. Oh, this is a chauvinistic quote against men, but then anyhow, I'll use it later someday. All right. So it's a sensitive topic. That is true. Difficult to measure anywhere. It is true. Culture is also very sensitive. It is very true. But then there needs to be a wider debate how to handle an issue like this, because this is of prime importance. When 70% of females are saying this, when 90% of females have gone through a situation like this must have a wider consultation among women, and whatever they say must be regarded by the parliament also. All right. So way forward is Justice Verma committee. He himself said that in 2012, when this committee was set up, 2012 or early 13, this committee was set up, and they ensured that the penalizing these kind of offenses, heinous crimes, this was raised. They also said that marital rape must be criminalized, but this was not accepted by the government. Various arguments were given, so please do not consider it a party issue. This was back in 2012-13, right? So at that time a different government in power, and now different government in power. Time and again they have said there are issues for the culture. Similar arguments forwarded all the time. So consider the fact that institutionally it is tough to impose these kind of legislations in present Indian culture. But then what is the way out? This you have to look at. So they will not ask you to start framing those laws right now. Present the issues, present the rights of females, present what are the challenges, and then say awareness building, and then speak that no matter what is the kind of crime, it cannot be, one cannot let go away with it, right? They must be criminalized, they must be highlighted, they must be brought to awareness, people must be trained to speak up, we must not stigmatize, society must be made more aware. These are the solutions that you should do. They're not asking you to frame a law. Challenges, I've told you 3-4 of these important challenges, and do remember, this is how you can conclude. These are important topics for essay. Where there is right, there is a remedy. Where there is a right, there must be a remedy. All right. Okay. So this is how we study a topic like this, complex topic, simplified for you people. Criminalization of marital rape is highly contentious. All right, it is contentious, no doubt. What does it form a part of? Paper 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Paper 4, absolutely. Paper 1, traditional society, absolutely. Paper 2, social issues, yes. Governance, absolutely true. What about economy? Oh, my dear friends, if we are subjugating the women power of the country, we are subjugating what potentially could have been 33% raise in our GDP of the country itself, right? If women are employed, if women become an important part of the economy, the GDP of the country can go as high as 33% from what we are right now. So, and can we treat the social setup, the personal setup, family life of women away from their economic life? Not at all, right? So what did we study today? We studied what is the meaning of marital rape under section 375 of IPC. Marital rape means not consented for, giving their rights for perpetuity, and their bodily autonomy being given to the male, and yet no penalty offense, because there is an exception for married persons, husbands. We understood what are the issues related to it, right? So various 7-8 rights we mentioned about the female. What should be the right? What about the developed countries? What is the culture followed there? What happens in an issue like India? Is marriage not treated as sacrament in Western world? So we understood various issues or contentions raised. We understood the counterpoints that the lawmakers or the people in power, government, they are providing. What are the complex, and there are genuine complexities which we have also understood, right? And after understanding the complexities, we also understand what is the way out, right? 4, 5 way out. So this is how we must approach any issue objectively, right? Arguments must be provided, but then the other side must listen to it as well. And then we are not arguing with anybody. We are merely learning how to write on an issue like this, presenting holistically, right? Because there are definitely provisions of any law which can be misutilized. So this is how we study an article like this. Criminalization of marital rape is a highly contentious issue. Try attempting this question. Discuss. This is an essay topic in itself, right? Empowerment of women. 8 March, women rights, forming 50% of India's population, world's population. Why are we considering retrograde law like this in India as of now? This must be considered. All right. So let's look at, oh yes, if you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments, and shares. Let me look at what are the questions here. The burden of contraception also falls on women in India, preceded by child rearing burden against wishes of women. Yes, women hardly have any say. Women hardly have any say over when to procreate, over when to start rearing or bearing child. In fact, this was years back that I was listening, but it is equally valid right now. Just when I was preparing, maybe 6-7 years back. As of now, in rural India, many women are not even aware how is the process of reproduction and what happens through it. If childbearing, they say Bhagwan ne diya, it is God's gift to me. They don't know how it is carried out. So this is the level of illiteracy, this is the level of unaware being that we generally are. Who's to be held accountable and responsible? Government has got its series of complete level of stakeholders here in rural India, but then you see the point has rightly been presented that the burden of contraception and child rearing burden, all of them is only on women, and this despite the fact that they do not have any say on when to produce their first or second child, or even the third one. All right, Lost Soul says, I think in hijab face is not covered and in burqa face is covered. Yes, absolutely true. Oh, Lost Soul, you're not here, we discussed this issue in totality. Please be present. Pragyan says, is the legal status of marital rape violation of fundamental rights, right to life, personal liberty, right to privacy? Absolutely yes. Yes, Pragyan, it is. It is. We've just proved it. No, it is not equal to humans. It is not freedom for women in the marriage. And this is related to other laws also. Shivam smiles. Okay, Ashish, I will read your comment towards the end. It looks to be a little complex to me. Bhavani says, okay. Amlan, okay. Anuj. Hi, good evening, Anuj. Amlan says, Ashish, okay, it looks like I'll have to look at what he's written. Sir, can arbitration be an important? Okay, I'll look at your comment. Kanupriya says, how developed countries are handling this issue, their laws and evidence collection? Smart question. I'll get back on this. One thing is that their family system is quite advanced, right? They live in separate cities. Right now, their urbanization level is different. The culture is different. Separation is a common thing. Divorce is far more common than what India has. So the children live away from their parents after the age of 16 or 18, right? When parents want to meet children, they have to seek appointments. Either ways, children also want to meet parents, they have to seek appointments. So even if the issue like this is limelighted, it is put in the light that this was an issue of marital rape, people don't care. It's fine. So the stigmatization is far lesser there in Western countries. Hi Anuj, good evening. Okay, let's see what Ashish has to say. Ashish says, I'm trying again once again. As in the hijab issue, we discussed that the right should be demanded by the stakeholders rather than imposing it to maintain social fabric. Okay, won't same count here? Yes, people are demanding. No, there are people, activists, who are in favor of those people who are demanding rights. They are demanding it. And if same is counted, it would be tough to bring this change which is required because the society is very rigid. Yes, society is rigid. However, there is a section which is progressive. Women themselves are progressive. Yes, a large majority, as you know, women themselves, they favor somehow whatever is happening, right? So a mother herself says that we have to take dowry if they have a son, and the mother herself is ready to prepare Stridhan, what is called in Arthashastra and various Manusmritis, Stridhan. They're ready to prepare right from the time when the child is small, the female child is small. So this is where, you know, we have to translate ourselves. We have to transcend the barriers of the medieval cultures that we have and provide females also the due place in society that is equal. In fact, the level of emotional intelligence that female have is far more superior. There cannot be equality. There can be equity. There can be justice. But justice is not marital rape. This is absolutely true. Okay. So in hijab, head is covered. Okay, all right. So Ashish, have I answered your question? Have I answered your question? If not, please post it down. Again, we will discuss it tomorrow. All right. Till then, thank you for participating. It was a great discussion with you people. You people are amazing audience. Not only that, your participation shows very well through the kind of smart questions that you ask. So it's great. It's great. Thanks that you were supportive here, because this is a controversial topic. We discussed it with the reasonable amount of clarity. Thank you, Kriti, Netra, Pragyan, Hima, Shivam, Amlan, Ashish, Bhamani, Lost Soul. Okay, Lost Soul talks about Satyamev Jayate. Yeah, I watched a couple of series of Satyamev Jayate. So great. Thank you for reminding. We will do this again. Thank you. Please write quick notes. They are very relevant, and you will understand the whole issue. It's hot in your mind. Just note it down quickly so that you move ahead to another topic tomorrow. All right. So good night, Kim. Good night, Bhavani. Good night, Lost Soul. Good night, everybody. Kanupriya, good night. Yeah. Thank you. Ashish, please post down your comment and then we will get back. Thank you.